Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, the world's youngest president. In the heart of West Africa, a young leader has risen to global attention. Ibrahim Traore became the world's youngest head of state when he seized power in September 2022 at just 34 years old. Traore, a career military officer, led a coup that ousted Paul-Henri Damiba, accusing the previous government of failing to protect the nation from violent insurgencies. His rise came at a time of great turmoil, with Burkina Faso facing jihadist attacks linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Since taking power, Traore has pursued a bold agenda. He has moved to cut ties with France, the former colonial power, and instead built closer alliances with Russia and neighboring Sahel countries also under military rule. Domestically, many citizens see him as a symbol of resistance, independence, and a new Pan-African vision. His government promises to restore security and reclaim territories lost to militants. But challenges remain. The insurgency continues, and critics warn of authoritarianism under military leadership. Regional organizations, such as ECOWAS, have expressed concern about democratic setbacks. Still, Ibrahim Traore's story is one of determination and defiance. At just 36 years old in 2025, he represents a new generation of African leaders reshaping the continent's political landscape. Let's dive into the full story. Profile of Ibrahim Traore. A full name, Ibrahim Traore. Born 1988, approximate, in Burkina Faso. Background: a career military officer, rising through the ranks of the Burkina Army. A rise to power. In September 2022, Traore led a coup that removed then-leader Paul-Henri Damiba. He became interim president at just 34 years old, making him the youngest head of state in the world at the time. A reason for coup: worsening security situation due to jihadist insurgencies in Burkina Faso. Discontent among soldiers and civilians about the government's handling of the crisis. Burkina Faso has been shaken by political turmoil, and one of the youngest leaders in the world has risen to power. Here's the full story of how Captain Ibrahim Traore took control of the nation in 2022. Burkina Faso battling a violent insurgency linked to extremist groups. Thousands of civilians have been killed and millions displaced. Frustration grew as the government failed to provide security and stability. In January 2022, soldiers ousted President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore, accusing him of incompetence in dealing with militant attacks. Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba took power, promising to restore peace. But within months, the violence only worsened. By September 2022, dissatisfaction boiled over again. A young army officer, Captain Ibrahim Traore, led a coup against Damiba. He claimed that the leadership had failed and that the army needed new direction to protect the country. Here is the details of Burkina Faso coup 2022. Burkina Faso facing years of instability due to jihadist insurgencies linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Since 2015, thousands of people have been killed and millions displaced. Public frustration grew because the government was unable to stop militant attacks. Soldiers became increasingly critical of leadership for failing to provide resources to combat insurgents. First coup of 2022. On January 2022, President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore was overthrown by soldiers led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba. Damiba promised to restore security but failed to achieve significant progress against militants. The September coup, rise of Traore. September 30th, 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traore, then 34-year dash, led another coup against Damiba. Key reasons: Damiba's continued failure to address worsening attacks. Dissatisfaction among soldiers over lack of equipment and strategy. Public anger spilling onto the streets, with protests supporting new leadership. Damiba initially resisted but eventually agreed to step down after mediation. After a tense standoff, Damiba stepped down, and Traore was declared president and head of state. Overnight, Burkina Faso became the first nation led by the world's youngest sitting leader. Since then, Traore has suspended and later restored parts of the constitution, dissolved government institutions, and promised a transition to democracy by July 2024. But one of his biggest moves has been a sharp shift in foreign policy, expelling French forces and turning towards Russia for support. Burkina Faso has also joined Mali and Niger to form a new alliance in the Sahel. Many Burkina citizens celebrated the rise of Traore, seeing him as a symbol of strength, youth, and independence. But critics warn that repeated coups risk long-term instability, and the insurgency still poses a major threat. Traore's leadership as president and head of state, the youngest leader in the world. Aftermath and governance. Traore dissolved the government, suspended the constitution, later reinstating parts of it, and promised a transition to democracy by July 2024. He aligned more with Russia, distancing Burkina Faso from France, the former colonial power, expelling French troops and media outlets. Burkina Faso joined Mali and Niger in forming closer ties under the alliance of Sahel states, presenting a united front against terrorism and Western influence. Public response. Many citizens celebrated Traore as a strong, youthful leader willing to take action. However, critics warned that repeated coups could undermine long-term stability. Security remains fragile as militant groups continue attacks despite leadership changes. His policies and leadership. Security first. He has prioritized fighting militant groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, which control large areas of rural Burkina Faso. Cutting ties with France. Traore has moved closer to Russia while distancing from traditional ally France, even expelling French troops. Pan-Africanist image. Seen as part of a new wave of young African leaders pushing for sovereignty and independence from Western influence. ICAO's relations. His government is in tense relations with West African regional bodies due to the military takeover, but he maintains popular support at home. Recent updates. 2025. Security situation. Violence continues, but his government claims to be regaining control of territories. Alliances. Strengthening ties with Russia and other Sahel countries under military leadership, like Mali and Niger. Domestic support. Many Burkina citizens see him as a symbol of resistance and independence, though critics fear authoritarianism. Summary. The Burkina Faso coup that brought Captain Ibrahim Traore to power was fueled by anger over insecurity, weak leadership, and frustration with foreign intervention. Traore has since repositioned Burkina Faso geopolitically, strengthened ties with Russia, and promised democratic transition, but challenges with insurgency and governance remain. This is a story of Ibrahim Traore, the young soldier who became a president. Will his leadership bring peace and sovereignty, or deepen Burkina Faso's crisis? The story of Burkina Faso's coup is far from over. Will Ibrahim Traore bring the security and change as people demand, or will the cycle of instability continue? The world is watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more news stories.